Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Table Takes. I am your host for today, Noir. Despite my very best efforts, still not Sarah. One day I will level up to achieve that title, but today I'm still Noir, he, they. We're glad to have you. We've got an exciting show for us, for you all today. So let's just start to get into it by seeing how everybody's week has been. So I've already started picking on you, so I'm going to pick on you a little bit more. Sarah, how are you? How's your week been?
Hi, I'm Sarah Moore, she, her. My week has actually been really good. I have got a lot of progress going on what's going to happen at Gen Con for Gen Con TV Presents. It's going to be a lot of good stuff. And just like in general, have been having like sort of a sunshiny, kitten-filled, joyful week. So
that sounds
awesome. Kittens? How many kittens?
I actually have several friends who have gotten new kittens in the last week, and so there's another picture right now on my cell phone. People are just texting me constant pictures of kittens, and it's wonderful.
That is awesome. It's going to be a hard week to top, but let's go in and check on Javion to see how your week has been.
My week's been good. I had a poker night. I love hosting game nights, but everybody wanted to play poker, so I had all my friends come over and we made chicken parmesan.
Oh, yum.
And salmon bites with like chips. I'm not sure what that's called. It was some fancy name, I can't remember. I didn't want to try any of it, but then I did, and I loved it. So that'll teach me a lesson. And also I lost at poker because we all got we ran out of time. So we just did one hand where we went all in. And two people got three of a kind, but one of them had a king. So yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'm gonna talk about more about poker later. So I'm in the poker mode.
All right. Well, that sounds like a pretty solid week, but let's check in on Peter to see how your week has been.
Thanks for asking, Noir. I had a great week watching Sarah do amazing things with Gen Con TV. I'm so excited about that. Yeah, good, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And I also know another reason Sarah's so excited is because next week her husband's coming out to Seattle for a week. So I'm looking forward to that. And Aktaroki, we concluded the series 2, and I thought the movie that we came, was just great. It was just really
perfect.
I felt it was our best work yet, and so
well done, Peter.
Just keep getting better and better at it, and that's a lot of fun. I also had a panic moment yesterday. My computer wasn't holding a battery charge. Even when it was plugged, it would charge up, but when I was plugged in, the battery would go down while I was running it. But then this morning in the hotel where I'm at in Portland, I plugged it into a different outlet, and that didn't happen. So I think there's a problem with the power strip I was using back home. Oof. Yeah. Well, small victories.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Anyone you walk away from, right?
There you go. So speaking of victories, let's check in on some of our gaming news.
Well, Noir, how was your week?
I was trying to avoid talking about my week. It was boring. Nothing happened. I'm still not Sarah. I have exciting things coming up. May 9th, I am actually going to be heading over to LA. First time there, so super duper pumped about that. Other than that, though, yeah, just kind of been vibing, trying to put together my apartment. As you can see, that has not happened.
Sounds chill.
But I can tell you what is happening. That's gaming news.
Yeah. Gaming news.
Two all-star segues back to back.
Oh, so good. We're professionals here.
I'm telling you. Let's start with Peter. You got anything for us today?
I'm so excited. I got this topic. It's an RPG supplement coming out that is about pets and animal companions, and it's called and you have to say this in a child's voice, I'm pretty sure. It's like, can we keep it?
Can we keep it?
That's, I mean, how many times has that happened where they kill the monster and the monster has a baby and the player characters all want to adopt the monster and or whatever it is, right? So this is a supplement. It's by Ian Publishing, the same Ian Publishing ultimately behind the Innies and the great website that they have that's been around for a long time. And as a publishing company, they've done a lot of great things too. So Ian published, can we keep it? It is about like, okay, so for GMs, advice on like how do you respond to a situation where the party wants to keep the baby monster or the baby anything? And like rules for like encountering an animal and like how do you sort of befriend, how do you communicate with an animal, how do you befriend an animal, how do you sort of get the animal to trust you or the monster to trust you and build up a relationship. And so it's rules for that without taking it to the level of like the ranger animal companion. I think it specifically says we won't let you get that good at it because the ranger still got to have the animal trick. And I would add the paladin's warhorse, right? Or is that still a thing in 5e? I don't know.
It's
totally.
a spell. It's a spell now. It's not
a spell.
It's not the same. Yeah, it's summon steed. I have thoughts.
I think it's misspelled. I think it's summon Steve and it's just one horse named Steve.
It's a horse named Steve. Yeah.
Well, I like this from the point of view, like anybody's hung out with me long enough to hear like, my whole list of rants and long enough that to cycle around and come back to the same rants again, like old people do. So pro tip, if your DM, like whenever I play D&D, one of the first things I do is try to get my dungeon master to let me buy a war dog. I mean, sort of hunting dog, any sort of dog. I mean, animal companions are huge.
Yes.
I mean, if you ever tried, next time you're out in the wilderness alone, try sneaking up on somebody who's got a dog. Wait, no, maybe that might not be a good idea.
Don't do that.
You're basically daring your GM to kill your dog.
Oh no.
But then you play the guilt trip. What? You're killing Fluffy? I mean, there's ways you can work this, Noir.
It's always Fluffy.
So Peter, I don't know if you mentioned this, but this is for 5th edition, right?
Yes, it's for 5th edition.
Okay, gotcha. So it's like specific.
Yeah.
No, it's not a complete RPG. It's the whole RPG is it's a standalone.
That's what I mean. You could do that.
I mean,
every adventure
that makes sense to me.
The monster's dead,
and you find the clutch of babies, and then
yes, animal training RPG.
I'm all in on this.
The whole
add a little Pokemon to your D&D. I love it.
Gotta catch them all.
You got a baby rust monster. What's it gonna do with it?
I'm gonna keep it.
Oh yeah.
You go keep it away from my armor. Is what you gonna do.
So the book also has adventure ideas, like the baby rust monster. I pulled that out of there. And so I want to say thanks to Dicebreaker for reporting this. We got our news about this from there.
Awesome. We got it from Alex Meehan, to be exact, who actually wrote another article that we're going to be reporting on today. And that's going to be handled by Jamia. So Jamia, what you got for us?
Well, I know that some of y'all out there who like D&D also like movies. And ever since 2015, we've been waiting for the Dungeons and Dragons movie that we were promised. A spiritual successor to the original one with Jeremy Irons. However, this new movie is not going to have Jeremy Irons, unfortunately. It was confirmed. But it was also confirmed that the title is going to be Honor Among Thieves. So get your tinfoil hats on. Bonsai, we love you. I am anticipating a very sneaky-centric, rogue-centric kind of adventure that the characters will be going on. We don't have a lot of any details really about the movie other than it is D&D. It's going to be using the Forgotten Realms setting, and we're going to have familiar locales such as Waterdeep. And we're also getting a huge cast of very, very popular actors and actresses. So Chris Pine is going to be in it. We're also going to see Justice Smith, You may have recognized him from Detective Pikachu. We're also going to get Reggae Jean Page. If you've seen the first season of Bridgerton, which is in its second season, but he's not in it. Anyway, yeah, he's going to be in it. Definitely looks like a swashbuckler to me. We're also getting Sophia Lillis and Michelle Rodriguez. Michelle Rodriguez from the Fast and Furious franchise, you might recognize. We're also getting Hugh Grant. I know a lot of people recognize Hugh Grant from things like Paddington 2, Notting Hill, other interesting movies.
I'm gonna call out that he's probably gonna play like a beholder.
Oh, yeah, voice acting. Oh no,
I mean, he actually does have a great. I mean, maybe just like a practical makeup effects, but actually, he does have a great voice, and so it would be interesting if he was a creature of some kind.
Totally agree. So, the movie's going to be written by John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein, who previously worked together on the board game comedy film Game Night. I actually watched that. That one was really, really good.
That's a good movie.
It was surprising because it didn't seem like a game night movie was just going to be like fun or like exciting. They did some games, but it ended up just being a murder mystery anyway. So I'm hoping that this one actually has a lot more of like the tropes that we are excited for in Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, I don't want to actually see anybody rolling dice, but I mean, I want to see what it looks like when actors are getting natural crits or natural ones in the movie. And I want to be able to like point out like that was definitely in that one.
Yeah, I think we've gotten to the point now in our pop culture where we have seen tabletop games adapted pretty well. Clue is still one of my favorite movies
so good
of all time. And, The Legend of Vox Machina is pretty much a blueprint as to how to transcribe what happens at the table into a cohesive storyline. So I think that this movie's going to be pretty solid, a lot better than the original movie Jeremy Irons was in. That's all I'm going to say on that.
I agree. So keep your eye out in March of next year, 2023. March 3rd is when it is set to release.
All right. Moving right along here. No clever segue this go around. Sorry, lads. But we have Sushi Go designer is launching a new sustainable board game studio. The designer of Sushi Go, Phil Walker Harding, has launched a new board game studio called Joey Games. It's co-founded by Phil and Meredith Walker Harding, an illustrator and textile artist. Joey Games is a publisher that is dedicated to releasing tabletop titles via sustainable means. The board games themselves are going to focus on the theme of Australia, teaching children and adults about the country's culture, environment, wildlife, and people. So I think that this continues in the vein of stories that we've been reporting on, where the tabletop community seems to be putting first and foremost environmental causes forward. And I think this is a trend that I think it's going is marching right along, moving from various companies, and I hope it's something that we see continuing on. You all have any thoughts about it?
Very wholesome. I mean, I love sushi. I love Sushi Go. I love all the offshoots. So I can definitely say like a co-op board game that they're making, I'm definitely on board.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like from Wizards, recycling magic cards to this is a trend that I'm super excited about. Just one more show that the tabletop community cares, and they're putting their money where their mouth is. So heck yeah. Have not played Sushi Go though. I'm gonna have to give that a try.
Yeah.
It's very fun. There's a couple of different options, but I would say Sushi Go Party is the best of those versions for my money.
Oh heck yeah.
Oh, the party version, yeah. It definitely has more cards.
Definitely want to give that a try, especially because any party game is a good one as long as it's not Mario Party, because that ends up making me want to attack people.
Yeah, it's a friendship ender, that one.
Yeah, that is a game that aims to make you misbehave. Speaking of misbehaving.
Speaking of which,
Hey.
so Gale Force 9 is going to be releasing a new Firefly game this year called Firefly Misbehavin, reported on by Matt Jarvis from Dicebreaker. It's going to be about a 60-minute game for 2 to 4 players, and the players control like a different competing faction that's somewhere in the verse. It's a deck building game, so some of the examples were you could be the crew of the Serenity, you could be the Alliance, you could be the scavenger community of Evestown or the criminal affiliates of Niska, and you are all competing against each other to sort of stake your claim on the galaxy. I really dig the Firefly universe, and I really like that there's going to be something new coming out of that whole fandom, because I just like, because it was so brief, I do feel like there's a lot more stories to tell. And this is hopefully going to be released later in 2022. It's going to be retailing for $65, and it's behind the folks. I mean, it's from the folks behind the Dune board game. And also something they have coming up, which is called Arrakis Dawn of the Freeman.
Yeah, Fremen.
Yeah.
They spell it wrong. They spelled it wrong in the article. Oh no.
Yeah, that
It's
all
too
sounds
easy.
good to me. Firefly and some Fremen. I mean, let's put the Fremen on the Firefly and see what happens. I mean,
a Dune Firefly crossover. Let's get it.
Sounds great.
Really loved the original Firefly board game. I'm hoping that they know that everybody loved it.
Well, but I mean, the original Firefly board game was like, this could be a 6-hour situation, where this one is like very clearly it is set to be played in like an hour. So it's not like, this is not the Firefly version of Risk that could last a week. Like this is, this like get in and get out kind of a thing.
Yeah. With game design, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold. I'm so sorry.
You're doing great.
But that's the segue we're going with, baby.
It was so good.
You have anything for us, JB?
I sure do. I'm going to make good on my promise from earlier. So some of you may have remembered a poker strategy Kickstarter game that we talked about last year on the show. Antimatter, spelled with an E. Get it? Because poker, you're antimatter.
I love it when you explain jokes to me. It's my favorite.
Well, it is a really, really cool looking game. I missed out on the crowdfunding, but basically, this space poker strategy game, it's all about your space pirates. You're assembling a crew, and you go out trying to steal everybody else's money. And to do that, you're playing Texas Hold'em. The components for it are awesome, and it's finally getting a full release from Fun Again Games. So if you check out the website, Bard Shark website, you can actually pre-order it now if you don't want to wait for Q3 of 2022 when it actually fully releases. And you get a ton of different options for how you want to buy the games. You can just get the base game. Of course, you can get that, the deluxe with all the extra premium edition components and things like that. But you can also pick up like a deck of playing cards if you really like the aesthetic. I know I love it. A lot of the upgraded components are really interesting, like because you guys know how much I love a thick chip, and like the poker chips, they are of the high quality that you would find like in a like casino. But one thing I have a problem with is that they're using a D4 as the turn marker. And like I get it. Like you're also using it as the dealer marker and you're like moving it around the table. That's fine. But do you have any idea how hard it is to pick up a D4 and having to do that while also manipulating how what the turn number is? You know how many times I've had to tell people how to read a D4? I really hope we're not gonna have to deal with that too much in the actual game,
Keeps
even
you
though it is a
sharp.
metal D4. Yeah.
I did
It is
not
a very
realize
sharp
folks are
style.
out here having a hard time with D4.
It's difficult. It's a challenge.
I-
You have to like claw hand it.
That is news to me.
Well, anyway,
All
Antimatter is
right.
a really cool space pirate poker game. You should definitely check it out, and it's releasing Q3 this year. So
Awesome.
enjoy.
And Peter, we have some news from you.
Yeah, kind of a sad news for those old timers, been around a long time. There's one of the staples and many of the major gaming industry conventions like Gen Con, Origins, for several decades was Jerry Corrick, who passed away last week. And Jerry was just one of those good guys, somebody always had a smile on his face. And you just always count on, you go by his booth and you'd get a big like, Peter, how you doing? It's so good to see you. And I think there's our industry, we tend to give a lot of love to game designers and artists, especially, and they deserve it. And some of the entrepreneurs, but I think retailers as a category, we're all kind of happy that they're there. Of course, they're the front lines, they're the people that are out selling our games. But individual retailers often don't get a lot of sort of notoriety outside the region that they're from. I hope Jerry's family knows that there's a lot of us who remember Jerry and thought the world of him, and our hearts are with you through this difficult time.
Absolutely. Every good person makes this scene what it is. So sad to lose one. Yeah. All right. Just moving on here. We have Twilight Imperium Inscription Roll and Write has been revealed from the a new roll and write game set in the Twilight Imperium universe. I am unfamiliar with the Twilight Imperium universe, but it does look extraordinarily exciting. A roll and write game has been unveiled, and it's being called Twilight Imperium Inscription. The upcoming board game will be set within the science fiction universe of Twilight Imperium series, and it is being published by Fantasy Flight Games. Inscription will reportedly be a typical roll and write style game, meaning that players roll a pool of dice and use its results in order to score points or perform actions. That will feature thematic elements from the Twilight Imperium universe. So I haven't had a chance to play a roll and write type game. Haven't had a chance to play a Twilight Imperium game. So this will be a chance to do two new things all at once. Have anybody here have any experience with either?
Oh yeah, Twilight Imperium notoriously can be like a 6 to 8 hour experience.
Whoa.
It's a huge box, tons of components. You want to play it with as many people as you can, with that the game allows. And you know what? I hope the roll and write is really long too, because we've got roll and writes that are pocket sized and stuff like that. But I think it would be really cool if they had like a really intensive roll and write.
Oh heck yeah!
Great.
That would be something I wouldn't mind seeing us try one day. But who knows?
What?
Who knows? We'll leave that lingering.
So we gotta try that though. I agree. We gotta try that.
And for our last story of the day, it's being brought to us by the one and only Sarah. So what do you got?
Oh, hi. So this story is reported on by Jeffrey Dom Sanchez from ICV2. I'm actually really excited about it. Monty Cook Games is going to release a new Cypher system game called The Origin, where you are playing characters learning these brand new superpowers that you have just been granted. So you are going to come up against villains and other people who have superpowers. And there's also a dark force that created this alternate Earth timeline. So it's a Cypher system game, as we talked about. A lot of their systems are Cypher system. And so it looks like, from what I am seeing here, that you do not need to have like the Cypher system like core book on its own.
Mm.
This seems like, if I'm reading this correctly, that you can it's a standalone, and it's going to be $45 for retail and coming out on May 18th of 2022. There's going to be more adventure content. There's new creatures, new ciphers, and new artifacts. So yeah,
Awesome.
check it out.
Awesome.
Also get cipher system first responders as well. It's coming out
Yeah.
as well.
The cipher system's just been killing it lately.
Yeah,
Just,
it's very
Monty
cool.
Cook does not mess around.
Bonnie Cook.
We love you, Monty Cook.
Yeah.
Come on the show if you want. I'm just saying,
do it.
Up there with Jason Morningstar.
Yeah.
Actually.
Interesting. You should bring that up. That's weird.
That's strange. We might have to revisit that later. But here's a place that we often revisit: the crowdfund court.
Crowdfund court.
Oh yeah, well you like
New
that?
place.
We dropping that on you, exclusive. And so let's take a look at what we have in our crowdfund court today. Please present me your case.
All right, I'll go first. Speaking of crowns, we've got a board game from fans of RuPaul's Drag Race. Apparently, it's called Extravaganza. The board game. It's a strategical. That's right. That's how they said it. Strategical drag lip sync competition board game Extravaganza. The illustrations were done by Shane Gillard, and oh my goodness, you guys, the art is so good. You get so much representation just from the cover alone, like body positivity and all of the different ethnicities and different POCs and different styles of drag too. We've got the comedy queen, we've got the fashion queen, and we got the spooky queen. Oh my gosh. This game looks really cool, but it's also really funny. If you look at a lot of the cards, there are a lot of references and homages to Drag Race. You got the first player token, right? We've also got the runway cards. You've got Sissy That Walk and jump splits, because it's not a lip sync battle unless you have at least 2 jump splits per verse. And I was looking through all of this stuff, and it looks like the object of the game is you're trying to become the winner of the lip sync battle by showing off your star quality. You are collecting rhinestones, you're moving your drag token across the board, drawing cards, and playing your rhinestones to dance, while also making sure you lip sync on beat. It looks really cool. I'm very excited for it. This is also not created by RuPaul or anybody from the Drag Race team. It's just an homage. So I hope that you can appreciate it. They changed all of the names to make sure that they were, again, very respectful, but also no actual drag queen names in it. We've got Modern Tart, Ella Grande, and Kiki Flowers, and Andemic. These are really funny names.
Andemic, that's good. Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of drag is everybody's name. That's my favorite.
Right. The copywriter for this Kickstarter was actually somebody named a drag queen, a Japanese American drag queen from New York named Shia Ho.
So my God, so good.
It's so good. Yeah. So there's a lot there's a lot of experience being brought to the table here. So check it out. Back it for about $53 USD if you want to get the full game. And it's going to be ending in 17 days. So you got plenty of time to check it out. Extravaganza, the board game.
All right. I loved everything presented. I've just been over here thinking like, what will my drag name be? But anyway,
we can revisit that. I mean, the Noir Enigma, pretty good. Pretty good for
I
drag.
think it's right on. But like,
pretty good. But we'll workshop it. I want you happy. We'll check it out later for sure.
But while I ponder that, Sarah, what do you got for us today?
I have a couple of offerings here at the court. The first one is by OneUpDice. It is a second printing. It's called OneUpDice 2: The Revenge. And it is a set of RPG dice that are inspired by like classic video games, like old school classic. In fact, when you order a set, you it comes in like a magnetic cartridge that looks like an old game cartridge that you would have to blow into the bottom and then plug in, and that opens up into a dice tray, and then each of those they're like named different things. So we've got one that's called Arcane, and we've got one that's called a mythical sword. Zombie Chopper is one of them, and so
that's a good day.
Inside the dice, even though that not only are the dice themed, but the inside of the cartridge has like pixelated art that goes along with whatever kind of dice you're getting, and then dice are all really like sparkly and pretty and vibrant colors. And you can back at a couple of different levels. One of the things that's great about these particular dice sets is that it also comes with 2 D20s. Each set comes with a full set of polyhedrals, but an additional D20 in case you want to roll with advantage against the zombies, for example.
I've never seen a dice Kickstarter where I wanted literally every set.
They're so cool. They're all just like really pretty. I can't pick a favorite. I have a really hard time picking a favorite, but maybe that's okay. Like maybe we all need to just buy all of them.
Yeah, definitely.
There is a set that is pink and purple, and that is maybe my weakness.
OneUpDice, if you want us to review your dice for you, I mean, we'd be more than happy to. Maybe just
I'm just saying, like, I'm interested in seeing how they roll. Again,
you can have them reviewed here or over at
right
Sarah's
here.
table.
I could
There's
roll
so
them
many
at
options.
There are lots of options. Anyway, call me. Everybody go check that out. They are rad. Speaking of rad, my second offering.
Ooh.
See, Nora, that's how you do it.
You so sad. Why you think I'm trying to be you?
The second offering that I have is a card game called Radical Queer Witches. Prompt and answer style card game with relatable, inclusive themes for the LGBTQI plus and BIPOC community. And this was designed by Yaz Awesome. I think I said that right. She's from Portland. And she previously was the creator of Blessed Up Threads, which has similar themes. All of her clothing has similar themes. But this started as like a joke quarantine project for her and turned into something a little bit bigger. It's you find cards that play on queerness, decolonization, sex, spirituality, capitalism, accountability, and simply existing in the world as an LGBTIQI plus and or BIPOC person. This is an 18 plus game. It is raunchy and fun, more in the like Cards Against Humanity level of humor and maturity. So like don't buy it for your kids, even if they're radical queer witches.
So far, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, can I just pay her to name things for me? Because Blessed Up Threads and then Radical Queer Witches, best titles I've seen in a while.
Agreed. But yeah, so they suggested for play with 4 or more players. It is best that way, but like this seems very much like it's a party game, right? Like you want to get it.
And they have a print at home version.
They do have a print at home
yes.
that you can pledge $10 and get 10 or more dollars for support, and you can get a print at home version if you want to have something like already printed out for you, like the physical deck. It's only $40, and they're looking at delivering it in July of 2022. So like, get on it.
I'm over here looking at the stretch goals. We've got Pride expansion, spiritual baddie, astrology, and anti-racist expansion.
I love
which we still haven't reached yet, so we gonna need some help.
Yeah, 5 days to go. This is definitely, it's already overfunded. So like, you will definitely be getting this if you do it. So like throw your $10 in or your $40 in. These are all things that are like, these are all things that we should be supporting. Like queerness, inclusivity,
Games that are
diversity.
very similar to Cards Against Humanity.
So
All right.
do it. Do it.
So hey, I have a question before I get to my my crowd fund. Can we go back to Twilight Imperium for just a moment?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We can rewind.
I was it was described as a read and write game. But
Yes.
right, yeah, I'm not familiar with that mechanic. Does anybody?
Oh no, Peter, I think it's a roll and write.
Roll and
Roll
write.
right.
It's
Yeah,
a
you're rolling
rolling
dice.
right.
Okay, roll and write. Okay,
Yeah.
well, that didn't clear things up at all, actually.
Oh no,
It's only made it worse.
So I'm glad I can at least say the topic correctly now.
No reading at all in this. Only
Yeah.
rolling.
Roll, has anybody played a roll and write?
Yeah.
game?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about it, JB.
Okay, well, the general, gist of it typically is that you have a pool of dice, you roll it, and then everybody has their own sheet of paper that they're working off of to decide what they want to do with the dice. So it promotes a lot of simultaneous play, right? So like I might roll a bunch of dice out, and then everybody looks at it and decides what they want to do on their board. So a game like Twilight Imperium, most of the time, what you're trying to do is upgrade your empire, take over certain areas. But there's a lot of diplomacy in it as well. I don't know how they're planning on doing that part because there's a lot of negotiating typically. I think they're just using the Twilight Imperium setting probably to have sort of not I wouldn't say 4X style roll and write. That would be awesome. But I think it's going to be definitely more about like how do I get victory points? How do I make sure all the numbers go in the right places so I have plenty of room for other things? If you haven't played roll and writes, Peter, I think you in particular would definitely enjoy them because there's so
I
many
just
out
always
there.
get excited about a new mechanic that I haven't heard of. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay. So like you're all sitting around the table and there's a bunch of dice that get rolled into the middle of the table, like a dice pool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you'll take
and-
turns. One person rolls it each time. And sometimes you get something for being the person who rolls it.
Okay, and so then you kind of take turns picking one of the dice and using that to determine
Well, sometimes.
what you're gonna do, basically.
Most of the time not. Most of the time you just have dice in the center. Nobody's taking any. It's like solitaire, but with other people sitting around you.
Do you
I'm
have
gonna do my
a
own thing.
favorite roll and write?
Railroad Inc. It's actually a game you can get on your phone if you want to play the mobile app version of it. It's this idea where you're building railroads and highways in just like different connecting and twisting, turning different ways. But it's exactly what a roll and write's supposed to be. You roll the dice in the center. You've got little highways and railroads that you need to draw on your board, and you're not supposed to look at what anybody else is doing. However, you've got like special abilities that you can activate, and you're trying to do better than everybody else. Think, Peter, Yahtzee is a roll and write game.
Huh.
Yahtzee is a roll and write game where you roll the dice, and maybe not other people are able to roll when you are, right? So it's not a modern day roll and write, but you do roll the dice, you do get to manipulate them, and then you do mark on your little sheet scoring depending on what you get.
And from what I'm seeing here, there's a Cowboy Bebop roll and write. There's a game. There is a Cuphead roll and write game. So it looks like whatever you're into, if this is a mechanic that you're into, there's a game for you.
Huh. Wow. Okay.
There you go.
Well, good. I mean, that sounds great. We got JV. We got to get together and have a roll and write. Runoff.
I've got at least 30.
Heck yeah. And so speaking of asking questions about games and how they're made and what kind of mechanics we got, we've got a very special guest joining us today, which I'm super excited for. So we've got Jason Morningstar here with us that we're gonna go over and ask a few questions about Desperation. So
Desperation is our that was my pick for crowdfunder games this week, and so I decided to just go get the game designer and bring him on.
That feels a little bit like cheating.
Is that evil?
What a way to win over the crowdfund court.
Like,
The rest of you have failed me.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair.
yeah. So Desperation is so Desperation is the latest game by Jason Morningstar, and it is a card game about horror and survival. And I love that Jason put in the crowdfunding a horror and survival without the survival.
Mhm.
You will die.
Yeah. Jason, are you there?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear
There
me?
he is.
Yay.
Hello.
Hey, Jason, welcome
Hey.
to Table Takes.
Well, thank you. It's lovely to be here.
So one moment while we get everything set up here. There we go. Now we're looking good. So welcome, Jason. We're so glad to have you over here at Table Takes. I know we're chomping at the bit with a bunch of questions to ask you, so prepare yourself.
I'm ready. I was born ready. Let's go.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so this is 2 separate games, yes?
Yeah, it's a little complicated because there's an engine called the Desperation engine, and then there are like experiences within that. And each game has slightly different rules, but still uses the same engine behind it. That's right.
Okay. So you have one is called Dead House and one is called the Isabel.
That's right.
Did one of them come first? Like which one sparked it?
Yeah, Dead House came first. And once I started writing Dead House, I realized that it was much more robust than just sort of a single set of rules for a single situation. And I thought, well, what are some other situations that would work with this, and how would that change the way that the game engine works? And the Isabel kind of came out of that.
Cool.
So can we back up here for a moment, 50,000 foot level? Explain this game to us here.
Yeah, okay. So you described it as a card game, which is not, it's actually a role-playing game that uses cards. And the idea is that there's a deck of cards that allows you to create a location, and then the characters that inhabit that, and then a narrative that gives you prompts that puts those characters into difficult situations that force the players to make really difficult decisions. That's sort of the core of the game. And those decisions typically involve life and death, and they typically involve you making choices about who will live and die. And there's the game is tuned, so there's some uncertainty as to whether anybody at all will survive. Sometimes a few will, sometimes none will, often just one will. And that's part of the fun of the game.
Wow.
Wow. That's a lot.
Can I tell you about the killer app of Desperation, though? The thing that makes it genuinely interesting. So the thing that I think is so cool about it, that I'm really excited about, is that where most games you have a lot of agency, you get to decide who's doing what. In Desperation, you're given that information, but you're not told who is doing those things. So, for example, you might reveal the card that says, it's the middle of winter and I just burned down the only orchard in Neola, Kansas. I just wanted to feel warmth for 1 minute, and I destroyed 50 apple trees to do it. Right? And so you get to see that, and you get to sort of internalize that, but it doesn't tell you who said it. And the really fun part of the game is that you're going to know who said it based on the ongoing narrative that you've created with your friends. And that it ties into our sort of innate pattern matching as human beings. We know how to do that. And it feels like magic. It's really, really fun. Because 9 times out of 10, when you read something like that, you're like, oh yeah, that's the old Widow Sharp. There's no question that she did it, because we just know the old Widow Sharp by this point in the game. And we know that she's the one who would burn down the orchard. So that's it's a really different take on sort of character agency and player agency that is really fun in the moment.
So that's I assume that be one of the other players, right? I mean, like you're gonna like oh, Sarah said this or Noir said this.
So there's not a, I mean, it depends on how you choose to play it. There's not a lot of character ownership. So as we're playing, if it makes sense for, like, I might love Swyla Sharp. She's cool. She's an angry old lady. She's got a lot going on. But if in the moment it's you draw the card, you're deciding which character, which personality is going to be
Wow.
saying those words. And the fact that I happen to really have fond feelings for Twyla is irrelevant. You're embodying her in the moment, and you're taking that on. And you can also have scenes. There'll be people playing different characters as you go, but the decisions are they're pretty ecumenical. Any player can choose any character.
Oh, I like that. So I'm hearing that there's a low chance of survival, and when I play games like that, I usually think that there's some element of like betrayal or like player sabotage. Is there anything present in this system like that?
That's a great question. It's not a competitive game. There's not going to be a winner. You're all going to win if you tell a really spooky story with a very satisfying ending. So there will definitely be betrayal on the character level. Sometimes the card just says, "I just betrayed my best friend." That's the kind of prompt you might get, and then you have to say, "Well, wow, who did that among the people we have left? Who did it?" And somebody's gonna betray their best friend, which is amazing in the moment.
Jason,
So yeah.
there are a lot of solo gamers out there, and I know this game plays. Oh, sorry, both of the games play 1 to 5 players. How do the mechanics change when you're playing solo?
They really don't. It's the same game. You tune a deck of situations and events before play, and then you're revealing them in sequence. So in Dead House, it takes place over the Great Blizzard of 1888. So it starts in the fall, and you're revealing cards that tell you more about the place, that are asking you questions about how people get along. There's some foreshadowing and some creepy things that suggest things are going to get bad. But it's pretty tame. And then winter comes, and when winter comes, things start to get bad. It's a bad winter, and the final card in that sequence is spring comes. But of course, in 1888, spring didn't come, and so from then on, the cards, rather than being fall or winter, just say hell on them, and they're the worst things. Like people are out of food, they're going crazy. It's real bad. So playing that by yourself, you're just making those choices and creating the fiction for yourself in the same way that you would if you were bouncing ideas off other players at the table. I think if you really enjoy that kind of play, if it resonates with you, the game will be very successful. Personally, I love the creativity of a group, and I think it really shines in that mode, but it'll work either way.
Great.
So you have, I know you're not supposed to play favorites amongst your children, but do you like Dead House or the Isabel better?
That is a very unfair question.
I know. We ask the hard-hitting questions here on Table Takes. The people want to know.
This is true journalism, and I respect that.
Thank you.
Even though you make me squirm, I don't know. They're both like Dead House was the impetus for this whole thing. So I love that game. I love it's an isolated rural setting, which really I can kind of empathize with. And then the Isabel takes place in coastal Alaska, which is a place I love and spend a lot of time. And it's like there's a shipwreck, and like there's really cool dramatic things about that one. And the Isabel or Dead House is a little more low key, like eat your neighbors kind of horror.
So that's more low. That's low key. Is the bar is eating your neighbors is low key?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
okay.
for
that
these
sounds
games,
like a Thursday.
They go to some dark places. The other thing I should point out is that the cards are numbered, and so before you play, there's a list, like a content warning list. And if you don't want to deal with things that are going to be difficult or upsetting for your group, you can tune the deck to take them out.
Oh, cool.
So there's a way to adjust it, because it is like they're really intense. There's a lot of horrible stuff that happens. And if you don't want to play the game where horrible things happen to a pregnant woman, for example, you can just take those cards out because they're numbered and listed at the beginning of the game. If you don't want to deal with cruelty to animals, it's out. You don't have to worry about it. So there's you can sort of calibrate the experience to what's going to be fun for you.
What if you don't have any cards left after you?
Right, yeah.
Hey, I've got that covered, right? Because there's a minimum number of cards you need to actually make the game work. And if you're taking out enough cards to not make the game work, that's a really good sign you should play a different game. And I want you to play a different game. I want you to be happy. So,
but you should fund the game just to
fund
find
the game
out
anyway.
whether or not it's the
Yeah.
right game for you.
So I mean, I was actually going to ask. This seems like a bit of a departure from Fiasco, which is a game that personally I love it. I love showing it to new tabletop folks because it helps them discover their comedic chops. I was kind of wondering, what brought on this this change of tone, and what are you hoping players discover in themselves by playing it?
I was going to say, every time I've played Fiasco, it's been very dark.
This is not Jason's only time down a dark and lonely.
Every time I play it, it's hilarious.
Yeah, Fiasco has got a lot of different tonal ranges to it. It can be played as a very melancholy game or a very dark, evil game, or it can be played as a comedy game. For sure. And this cannot. This is a very, the Desperation engine pushes a real specific tone. And we have ideas for other tones in the future, but these games are dark as hell. And that's, you know that going in. And that's just kind of the way it's going to be. For me, that's what I wanted to explore, right? These are kind of pandemic games in a lot of ways. This is my art. It's the way I express myself. This is something I was working through, and so this is kind of the direction it went for this. I'm working on other projects now that are very funny or light and different. So like for me, the work tells you what it wants to be, and what these wanted to be was pretty grim.
Speaking of the pandemic, I know a lot of people are playing their RPGs over the internet right now. What kind of integration have you guys implemented for those people?
So we built out a whole implementation on Roll20. You can play the game on Roll20 completely out of the box, which is really nice. And Jen Martin is the person who put that together for us, and she did a wonderful job. It plays very well. All the pieces are there. It looks great. And you can do some really fun things that you can't do in a tabletop game just because of the affordances of the Roll20 interface. Like in the Isabel, when a character is lost, when a character dies, you send them to the deep, right? And it's just a way of saying they're dead, they're gone. And if you're playing around a table, you would just have a pile of corpses, right? That's the deep, they're gone. Well, with Roll20, you can have multiple play mats. And so for each section of the game, there's a new play mat, and the deep just gets deeper visually, which is just really clever and cool. So yes, Roll20 is the place that you can play it.
It strikes me it'd be kind of fun to play this game with chat, like whether it's just 1, 2, or 3, like you can play the game with chat and get chat to help make decisions about who things happen to. So,
yeah, I think you totally could. There's I mean, not to get too inside baseball, but there's a little bit of state tracking involved, and you're sort of manipulating these cards. But yes, you absolutely could do that.
I have a question for you, Jason. So you're not doing this on Kickstarter. You're doing this on GameFound.
We are.
How's that?
It's good. GameFound's been really, really good to us. It's a really they do things just a little bit differently, and so there's a lot of things we're like, oh yeah, we know how to do this, and then GameFound will be like, what are you talking about? That's impossible.
Oh no.
Or conversely, did you know we can also do this? And Kickstarter, you can't even dream of doing it. So it's it's a different platform, but it's fundamentally the same from the point of view of the creator putting it together, and that's been reassuring for us. They've been really good to us, and it's going well. We made the choice to use GameFound because we like the platform, and we wanted to sort of grow the ecosystem, right? We want to support the idea that creators aren't tied to one particular way of crowdfunding, and we hoped that if we do it, then other people will feel a little more secure about doing it. So it was a little bit of a risk, and there's a little barrier to entry for people who are excited about it, but then have to like sign up for another service. But we're hopeful that they'll get over that.
Well, as you know, Jason, I'm a big fan of your work. So we're really excited to have you here with us talking about it, and anything we can do to help spread the word, we will do. And
thank you. I'm so proud of this game, and I really want to get it in people's hands. And so I very much appreciate that. And I'll come back anytime. You let me know. I'll be happy to.
Jason, I would love to have you come on my streaming show and play the game with me.
Let's do it.
Great.
Absolutely. I would love to.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. You did kind of hint at like some other tones that you're kind of thinking about making games for? Do you have anything that you might be able to, like a glimpse of the future of what you may have in store?
Yeah, sure. Like one of the games that is in pretty heavy development right now is called Early Birds, and it's a game that takes place in the world of pre Great War aviation. So it's airplane pilots from 1908 to 1914, which was an amazing time, and a lot of interesting things are happening, and a lot of parallels to where we are today. But it's not it's like a straight up role playing game. Like you have a character with stats and stuff, which is very fun and exciting to play with. And it's sort of a heroic game, but also like it was a challenging time, and the people who did that knew that their life expectancy was measured in months. And so like what kind of person looks at it like a kite that's going to catch on fire with a motor on it and says, yeah, that's for me. Right? That's what I want to do right now. So a lot of super interesting things happening that I'm exploring in that game. We'll see more about that in the future.
Sweet.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you, Jason.
My pleasure. This is great. I love to talk about my stuff.
Yay.
So do I. I love talking about your stuff too.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
Well, I want to play your stuff. That's
Yeah,
where I'm
well-
at right now.
Thank you for that.
Okay, I'm down to get grim. So Jason, if you just stick around while we sign off here, we're just going to wrap some things up
Sure.
for this episode of Table Takes. Again, thank you all for joining us. We have our Table Takes game night coming up next. Episode 3 of our 5-part series of Everyday Heroes. Super excited to have that going on with our GM, Super Dylan. Then we have Sarah's Table at 5 p.m. today. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, we're playing The Great Soul Train Robbery by Cloven Pine Games, and it is about a group of desperados who are trying to rob the train that takes you to hell. It is it's surprisingly, we did a lot of laughing in this game. It was really fun, though the setting was pretty dark. Everybody was really delightful, and so you should definitely check that out. 5 p.m. today.
Heck yeah. Then we have Nerd Boxery Adventures. That's going to continue this Sunday at 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific time. D&D cosplay and a whole lot of Dwarven Forge. And also check out all of our GCTV streaming. On Mondays, we have board games with the Brothers Murph. Join Brothers Nick and Mike as they play the Trekking the National Parks and Trekking the National Parks Trivia. Tuesday at 4 p.m. with Out of Character with Mark Tassin. The guest this week is going to be R.R. Verdi, the author of The Grave Report and the books of Winter Urban Fantasy series. 5 p.m. is Kathy Paints. On Wednesday at 6 p.m., we have Actoroki Series 2 Supercut, which I know that everybody here is excited to check out.
Yeah, what we're going to do real quick on that, Nar, we are going to show the entire second series, all 6 episodes back to back. It's like a binge opportunity. So if you just want to come out and binge the second series, it's going to be about 3.5 hours, and I'll be there and chat, and I'm sure Sarah and Steve and everybody will
Can't wait.
The cast to join me, hopefully. And we'll just talk about it as we go through and watch it again.
Get your popcorn, your drinks, and your tissues.
That's right.
On Thursday, we have Roll with Rim Alternus, interviews and a whole lot of Shadowrun. And at 10 a.m., Blood on the Clock Tower. And then again, Friday, you've got us again. 2 p.m. Table Takes, 3:30 Table Takes Game Night, and 5 p.m. Sarah's Table. Oh man, you got Grant Howlett next week.
I'm going to be playing Grant Howlett. I do not. We don't have Grant on this episode. We've had him on the show before, but he is not in this one. We are going to be playing Goblin Punks, where you are teenage goblins stealing stuff from everyone around you and generally causing trouble. So it's going to be a treat.
Well, that's our full lineup. Thank you again so much for joining us. Thank you to the viewers, and most importantly, thank you to thank you to all of you, the hosts, Sarah, Peter, Javion, and thank you, Jason, for joining us.
Thank you.
Remember, If you miss out on any of our programming, you can check out our VODs here on Twitch or on YouTube 24 hours later. Please follow us here on GCTV for the best 4 days in gaming all year long. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in a bit.